was beautiful, Kathy. So talented to write such beautiful songs and perfect for what I'm going to talk about. So, my heart, God's heart. I'm going to talk about self-care in action. And this is part of what we're exploring in that class that Rupali was talking about. We've got 14 people taking a course called Quantum Living Training right now. And we'll be offering again in August on Zoom, so we hope some of you will tune in for that. Sign up for it. It's a 6-week course, and part of the process of freeing ourselves of the things that hold us back from having an amazing journey through life, despite what's happening on the outside. Sort of lifting our consciousness and releasing old beliefs, and let me tell you, in the group with the 14 of us, we're all having new breakthroughs, because I have to take it almost every time I teach it, and I'll think of a memory that reminds me of something I might still have hidden in my unconscious that comes up for healing, for clearing, for letting go. And it's very exciting kind of inner work that is part of the spiritual path, to keep letting go of things that don't serve us anymore. The thoughts and beliefs and behaviors and habits that we formed over the years of our life, and some of them just don't apply to us as spiritually mature individuals. And so self-care is a part of self-love, and Carla and I have selected that as the theme for this month. So we've been doing talks on self-love, self-care, and today I wanted to talk about how self-care, I was thinking of titling my talk, Self-Care Requires Action. Really, it's more than just thinking about it. And as Carla's talk was more than a bubble bath, I loved that, because it's more than just an action. It's got to be action related to what we need at the moment. And we have to really kind of feel that need and then do the action based on supporting our inner desires and needs where they connect and fit. So there's lots of different things we can do for our own self-care, and I'll talk about those. Now, I want to tell you the story of a once upon a time story of a cobbler who set up shop in a village, kind of a new enterprise for him, and got busy, letting everybody know that he repaired shoes and could do a great job of fixing boots and sandals and whatever kind of shoes people were wearing in that little village. And he did it so well that his business grew really fast, and it was wonderful. I mean, all the people were bringing in their shoes, and he was serving people, and that just made his heart sing. He was so glad to be doing that. And he got so busy that he hardly had time to repair his own boots. And so finally, because he was just working, every day, sun up to sundown, and sometimes even into the evening, and working, doing, well, this attention he was giving his work wasn't a problem at first, because it brought him joy too, of course. But after a while, his own boots began to wear a little bit, get cracks, and he started having little blisters. And he just ignored them and kept working and doing his job, and he just ignored them. And then pretty soon he found he was limping, and his customers started worrying about him. But he just brushed that aside, kept doing his thing. Well, after a while, the blisters turned into sores, and then a while longer into open wounds. And after a while, his feet got so bad, he couldn't work anymore. No one's boots got repaired. So the entire village then started limping in pain, all because the cobbler didn't take time to repair his own boots and attend to his own health and well-being. Anybody resonate with that story? So we often hear that simple little principle, if you don't take care of yourself, you're not going to be able to take care of others. But do we take it seriously? And I know that most people in here just love to serve others and contribute to the overall consciousness of humankind. That's why we come together as a spiritual community. But like the cobbler, if we don't do good to ourselves, we are not going to be able to do good out there in the world, do good for others. And so our best intentions to spread our good mean nothing if we can't accept our own good and be good to ourselves. So the question we need to ask ourselves constantly is, am I taking care of myself? Do I really love myself? And then you listen to what the ego responds. Now, self-care is not, I want to make sure we distinguish, self-care is just, some people think that's self-indulgence or pampering ourselves, right? It's not a luxury. It's a necessity. It's a form of self-compassion, of self-love. So if we see ourselves as loving people, then we follow what Jesus said. We love our God. We love being the understanding that we are of God in God. And we love ourselves and our neighbor. We can't love our neighbor till we really get it, that we must love ourselves as well. So, this is a requirement. If we want to be the highest expression possible of divine love, then we've got to make sure we're taking care of ourselves. And if we don't love ourselves, then we're not able to express true divine love at the highest expression, the highest form of unconditional love. Because there'll always be some resentment back there, where we're not letting the love through if we don't take care of ourselves. If we're in pain, is there anybody here who has suffered physical pain and not felt cranky sometimes? So if we're going to love our best, our friends, our family, our neighbors, then we really do need to love ourselves. And this act of self-care, I find, also helps us receive insight. If we're really in a place where, again, when we take care of ourselves, then we're more easily into the flow, the divine flow, the energy, the substance of God. And then we'll begin to receive messages, divine ideas about how to best express our love more fully. I get very excited about that, because if I'm truly doing what I preach, what I'm talking about, then I get inspiration about how to reach out to people in different ways, and how to even, I have 2 sisters left in my immediate family, and we all have different personalities, and if I really relax and just know that I'm in that flow of good and feeling well and taking care of my own well-being, then I want to reach out and support them in the way that makes sense to them. See, so often we want to give love in the form we most want love. And there's a book called The 5 Love Languages. If you haven't read that, if you sometimes get frustrated because you're loving somebody and they don't quite receive it the way you thought, you might pick up that book, The 5 Love Languages, because we express love in different ways. And so if we're in the flow of spirit, we might be told, that still small voice whispering in our ear will guide us to maybe some acts of kindness we hadn't even thought about. I love that, because I get inspiration all the time about how to reach out in different ways to people. So self-care, though, again, allowing ourselves to make space to care for ourselves, it's a healing tool. So think of how sleep is very important, right? You would tell your children and others, you would tell your best friend, you need to get your 8 or 9 hours of sleep. These days, 8, 9, 10 hours is what the medical community is saying, because that's the time the body does its cleansing and healing. And, our organs are removing all the toxins, and they're neutralized and drawn out of our body, and our brain gets a bit of rest, and that's when it creates new cells and circuits and connections, and all our cells and our tissues and our organs and systems get refreshed when we're in a deep sleep. So that deep sleep is really important for us. Well, our mind needs cleansing as well sometimes. The consciousness, our consciousness. And, you ever thought of that? That your mind needs cleansing, or your consciousness needs some healing and cleansing? So be aware of what your ego's saying back to that, I'm tough, I don't need that stuff, sounds like woo-woo stuff to me, or whatever, Sometimes your ego wants to fight back, to say, I'm Superwoman, I can do anything. And I know, I've had that ego say that to me. And that's when I get overstressed, overtired, overwhelmed, and need self-care. And the stubborn ego would just want to keep pushing, do it, whatever, right? So we need to listen to what our ego is saying, and then stop and empty our minds and listen to what Spirit is saying. So let's think more about, let me just say the ego doesn't particularly want us to do self-care, because the ego thinks that's its job, right? It's going to take care of us, but in a different way, because the ego is trying to please other people, or to show off to other people, or to punish other people. We have to admit sometimes we have a desire that might rise up to get even, right? Or punish, or whatever. That's that human part of us. That's that ego. So we need to learn to distinguish between the voices that come up between us. And I was saying yesterday in our class, that's what Jesus meant about, get thee behind me, Satan. Huh? When you hear the ego give you a suggestion that your spirit knows is not true and not pure and not good. You know the difference in your consciousness. You can hear it when you get that voice of the ego that isn't quite right. And so we keep listening. But the ego really doesn't want help, because the ego wants to tell us that we're already strong, but sometimes it's strong in the way that our society expects us to be strong. So sometimes it's not talking about divine strength, it's talking about ego strength, right? So understanding what we need in terms of self-care requires us to be vulnerable, requires us to have humility, to recognize when it's the ego acting versus, Spirit speaking through us. And we know when Spirit speaks through us that it's going to be good, a good message, a good inspiration. So one of the things we're learning in this quantum living training is that we also need to be aware of our feelings. It's really important to be aware of our feelings so that we can figure out what's going on with us. And so if we get overtired or overwhelmed, what is our body trying to tell us? What is the need behind that feeling of being overwhelmed and tired and exhausted? Our body and spirit are whispering, rest, refresh, take some time for yourself. Do you ever hear those whispers? Yeah, some of you can relate to that. And so we need to listen to our feelings and then understand what's needed in order to have self-care. So that's why I say self-care is action, in action. We need to take action. So when you hear the whisper, it's time for you to have some rest, take that advice. If you're feeling isolated and lonely, see, you want to identify the feeling. If you're isolated and feeling isolated and lonely, feeling disconnected, then what is that trying to say to you? That you need a sense of belonging. You need a sense of connecting with others. So whatever action you take would be to reach out to others. Whereas the human ego would probably just say, I'll stay in bed, it doesn't matter, you don't need to. But if you really listen and you're feeling alone, lonely, I mean, you can be alone and not lonely, right? So if you're feeling lonely, then you want to do what you're called to do for self-care. If you're feeling unloved, then you can give yourself the love you need. You are a fountain, the source of all love. The essence of love is within you. That's called God, right? I mean, that is one power, one presence. You got it within you to forgive yourself, to love yourself. These are acts of love and self-care. And I've often said, use that mirror technique of just standing in the mirror and saying words of love to yourself. And if you really, it feels awkward at first, but if you really, really practice that after a while, then it feels natural because you are connecting with the truth of you. So, authentic action, then we want to understand what we're feeling so that we can connect that to what we need. And then when we identify what we need, then we take action. And the action should really spark joy in us. Should make us feel whole again and refreshed. And so there's so many things, we could go on and on because this is a whole class that we're doing. But, even acts, creative acts. I know when I get overwhelmed and tired, one thing I long to do is just be creative. And I got to admit, I'm not good at stopping what I'm doing and put things aside. And I keep thinking, I like to create art. I'm not particularly great as an artist. That's not my greatest gift. But I get into the flow of playing with paint. And it takes me, again, into that flow of spirit because God is the generative source of all that is. And we are in God, so we are naturally creative beings. Get that? Get that. All of us are creative in some way. And just engaging in a creative act. I love to write poetry. And I'm always thinking I'm going to take time to go write poetry, but I don't always do it. But that's when I start feeling overwhelmed and overloaded, that's the thing that I know that will take me out of that feeling of martyrdom or whatever it is that I feel at the moment and go do a creative act. Takes me into a totally different, sacred space. So these are just some examples, and you will be inspired what to do if you can stop, feel your feelings, find the need for self-love, self-care. What is it you need right now? And then go do something authentically that will support that need. 3 things as a little process there. And so I want to share that with you, and I want to end with a poem that is just really about embracing life. It's just, life is juicy and wonderful when we can embrace everything that's around us. And so when we start feeling down, know that we're creating and magnifying the kinds of thoughts we have, unless we stop them, because we're in control of our thoughts. We're the thinker, not the thoughts. We are not our thoughts, we are the thinker. We have control over our thoughts. So we stop and we give thanks. To me, that's one of the most important authentic actions. Give thanks for anything you can see right around you, right now, right here, right, whatever. And just be in the flow of giving thanks. And so this poem kind of reminds us that in the very ordinary things of life, we can give thanks for anything. So that it goes, and it was written by Eugene Ionesco, who was a playwright. So I don't know exactly where it was published, but it's called Learning from the Heart. Love life. Love life. Everything. Pale lights. Market medley of green lettuce. Red cherries. Golden grapes and purple eggplants. All so extraordinary. You get excited. You talk to people, and people talk to you. You touch, and they touch you. All this is magical, like some endless celebration. So that's sparking joy in the supermarket. And we can learn from that. And peace. And so we end by just saying we love ourselves. We love ourselves. And now Kathy's going to take us into meditation. And so we move now from our heads down into the sanctuary of our hearts. Just focus a moment now on that beautiful heart space. And imagine that you're actually breathing in and out from the heart. And as you breathe in and out and feel that beautiful rhythm of the heart, you feel a sense of expansion of the love flowing in and through you. Your heart is actually expanding. And now in your heart, let arise the image of someone, something, could be a pet, could be an object, could be a place that you love dearly. And as you observe that image with your inner eyes, Let it grow stronger, and you feel the pulse of love with every beat of the heart. That warm, wonderful sense of being a loving channel of compassion and oneness out into the world. And just feel the love now in this gathering, both in person here in the room and on Zoom. We are all connected through this beautiful divine energy of love. Just feel it flowing. As we express love outward into the world, we feel it come back in multitudes, surrounding us, enfolding us, above us, below us, in front of us, behind us, everywhere present love. The external circumstances, we can feel the love that we need, and we can receive it as the highest form of divine, unconditional love for ourselves. We love our bodies. And say to yourself, I love my body. No matter what its condition, it is an amazing instrument, a temple of spirit. I love my body. And we love our minds. And so say to yourself, I love my mind. My ability to think and imagine and create. My ability to relate to others. My ability to discern my feelings and needs. I love my mind. And now just for a moment, imagine yourself walking forth out into the world, being a channel of love, and also loving yourself and creating some kind of authentic action you can do to even love yourself more. What gift can you give yourself? More time, more play, more fun, creative activity, service to others. It may come in a lot of forms. Just let it take shape. Something you can do in the next couple of days to love yourself more. And now we give thanks. We are so grateful in the name of the living, loving Christ Spirit. We are deeply grateful. Amen and amen. So it is.
And indeed, we are deeply grateful. I'll just say self-care may be one of those things that I had to offer myself. It's taken years, but I finally do it. But there was a whole lifetime in there where it wasn't even on my consciousness that it was necessary or needed. This is our time for giving. Consider that giving can be that gift of time or treasure or talent as been acknowledged already in the opening. And please know that in our weekly newsletter and Unity website, the web for online secure giving is available. And if you are here in our sanctuary, would you please simply take your gift in your hand and perhaps lay it on your heart? And then at the end, we have this gorgeous place to deposit our gifts. If you haven't noticed the beautiful bowl that is there now, that is for us to receive the gifts of this congregation. I'm going to name it. It came from the Palmers, and we are so grateful for it. So please say with me, divine love, expressing in me, through me, as me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And now I would like to see if Miss Gwen is available. Yes. And she will be showing us, okay, our virtual children today. And indeed, do you want to share your lesson? Here.
We were going to talk about our power of imagination, which is the power for June. So I invite you to use your power of imagination and visualization to see this space in our congregation filled with loving hearts and smiles and joyful sounds. And we know that everyone is where they need to be today, and we will see them soon.
And we rub our hands together, think of our own inner child, think of the children in the world, and think of the children that have blessed the sanctuary and are here in this moment. And we say,
children, we love you. Children, we bless you. Children, we appreciate you. And we see you doing wondrous things.
We love you, we love you, we really, really love you. Mwah! And now we would love it if you would join us in a circle, and we will be closing with our peace song, and then we will be speaking the prayer of protection. Let there be peace on earth, the peace within with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be, with God as Creator. Family all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow, to take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God holds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Huh? Seems to be a little better every day. I was able to play some notes with the letter.
Okay, we're going to do the prosperity orientation, prosperity challenge orientation. So, okay, gather around, and looks like they're going to sit. So you guys can sit. You can sit, and we'll do quickly here. All right, does everybody have a handout? Can you make sure everybody has a handout? If needs one, wants one, yeah. Okay. Okay, like I say, I'll be quick because we're not going to do more than 15 minutes here. All right, can I have your attention? If you're here for the Prosperity Challenge, we're going to do that. Okay, so great. And I said it wasn't a class because I think most of you kind of have heard these principles. All of you have been coming to Unity a long time, so you've heard the principles. We're just going to have a little experiment to practice the principles of prosperity. Okay, everybody, and and I think it's kind of fun because we do want to say, let's engage 30 people, because that's a little stretch. It's a little more than the average coming to Sunday service coming. And so we want to, as a board, keep holding, and I'd ask you to all hold the vision. See, that's part of being one of the principles. Hold the vision that 30 or more people are going to sign up, right? So we're going to make that happen. That's manifesting something we desire. So as a group, I'm going to ask you to hold the vision that 30 or more people sign up for this, okay? And we see how it plays through. And Steve is going to join us. Do you have a handout in your hand? Are you going to join us or not? I'm just asking. I'm not insisting.